Mood and tone. A lot of people confuse mood and tone. What's the difference for world building?
Yeah, they are confusing and they're also very related. I tend to think of mood in some ways as an affective tone. So mood is kind of like the emotional or aesthetic atmosphere of the piece. But if you're really trying to parse it out from tone, think of mood as the thing that the reader is experiencing, or maybe in some cases the character is experiencing, what they feel like when they're in the world. And yeah, that can have an emotional dimension to it, and it can have an aesthetic dimension to it. But it's something where it's a feeling. You wouldn't like point to it and be like, that's an example of mood. You could point to a thing that's an example of something that creates mood, and tone is one of those things that creates mood. Not the same thing though. Tone is a bit more of like the attitude or the voice of the storyteller and what they're communicating through that. So like tone is the choices that you as a storyteller are making about like, is the world harsh to its characters? Are people mean? Is the narrative tone like bleak? You can get that through like a description where you have these short sentences describing like a barren landscape. You can do tone that way. The mood then is like what the effect of that is. How are the characters feeling about it? How are the players feeling about it? You can have like a really harsh tone to a story where the mood is actually more upbeat, where like it's a really grim world, but you have these like scrappy orphans and like they're full of hope. So you can have this combination of like a dark tone and a light mood, but often they're in sync. And when they're not in sync, you just want to be kind of like careful about why, because it's a choice and it can be harder to like achieve. And yeah, so think about like tone is kind of the palette that you're working with, and then mood is kind of the effect that palette has when it comes to like what emotions you're putting in. And like tone, I guess you can break it down to like a bunch, like there's different techniques for establishing tone. Maybe we won't get into those like quite yet. We can save that a little bit for later, but like you can establish tone through like, if you have visuals, the visual art style that you're doing it in can communicate if it's like this is a harsh and gritty world, or one that's more like bright and happy. Through like word choice, through diction, there's like a lot of ways you can kind of try that out. Yeah. So I know for me, I forget tone more often and go straight to mood. And then for me, the tone choices follow implicitly from the mood that I'm going for. But it really does help to like slow those down and look at how those choices support each other.